What's up, everybody? Happy Wednesday and welcome to the Early Edge. We have a great show ahead of us. A lot of picks for PGA, NBA, NCAA, soccer. We're going to do it all here. What we need you to do is hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribed to SportsLine and go ahead and give us a review on Apple or Spotify. That would be amazing. Let's get into it, though. Let's get into the recap screen. Let's see what we did yesterday. Man, I lost that Villanova money line bet. They made a huge comeback, took the lead only to drop it late in the game. The SportsLine site picks, those stay pretty hot. And Mikey B, speaking of hot, 2-0, absolutely love that. All right, we're 4-4 here. That's not great. We got to do a little bit better. The only way we can do that is to bring in the stars of the show. Let's just go ahead and do it right here, right now. We've got Mike McClure. We've got Martin Green. We've got Mikey B, and what is going on here? We have Tim Doyle from a remote location. Tim, how you doing?
I'm actually headed off to a game tomorrow, boys. Sam Houston State, Western Kentucky. My wife is wondering why I'm heading to Nashville. Well, I think we all know why I'm heading to Nashville, to enjoy myself today. But yes, I will be watching tonight, Sia. Northwestern. They should be getting 8. They're getting 12. That is my pick. Last week I was on the show 2 games. Okay, 2-0, Sia. So I came out, give you Northwestern plus the points in West Lafayette. Early start. So right around my first martini, I'll be enjoying the Northwestern game about 5:30 Central Time. So just wanted to pass that on.
That is amazing. Tim Doyle, thank you so much. We're going to be tuning into that Sam Houston State game. Let's go Northwestern. That was amazing. Mike McClure, like even that brought a huge reaction even from you. What's going on? Like, that was great. What do you think about Northwestern?
Well, initially I got nervous when he said he was headed to Nashville. I didn't know if he was going to just show up here. So yeah, I gotta watch my back here with Tim Doyle in town for sure. Yeah, glad to see Tim show up like that. Not surprising to see him pop in. He is a very dedicated man.
He really is, and he will be calling. What was it? The Sam Houston State game? Did he say that was tomorrow? We'll have to look that up.
Oh, yeah, the game is tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I want to hear him call that game. That'll be fun. I assume that's on CBS Sports Network. Speaking of CBS Sports Network, by the way, the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am, which we're going to have some picks for on this show. You watch the early wedge. We had picks on that show as well. That's going to be on Paramount Plus and, of course, on CBS Saturday and Sunday at 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Hopefully the weather holds off, so we should see golf Saturday and Sunday again on CBS and Paramount Plus. Definitely check that out. All right, well, listen, I got to hand it to Tim because truly we weren't expecting him on the show. He literally just popped up, and I got to give him credit because don't forget, he had Northwestern money line. They were 3-point dogs. He had them money line at plus 130 last week, and they won outright. I believe that was against Illinois. So he thinks the line should be 8. I guess it's 12. I didn't look at that game, but let's go ahead and bet Northwestern. Let's add that to the list. I spoke with Mike before we get into our best bets because we're going to get right into it. Mikey B, how you doing today? You're coming off a 2-0 day.
Yeah, my Bulls came through for me last night, so I got a smile on my face. I got a good night's sleep, and I'm ready to go back to the NBA.
Martin Green. Now, David Talk in the chat, he says, the early wedge was great. Watch it with an exclamation point. I assume, Martin Green, as this huge soccer capper, you also watched the early wedge yesterday, the PGA show.
Oh, it's my favorite show, Sia. I'm a dedicated viewer and always follow the plays. Really, really astute picks. Big golf fan, and yeah, always enjoy the previews.
Yes, he sold that brilliantly, by the way. And Alex Jones, you're right. There's still no first-round leader lines. I don't know why. I mean, obviously, this is a pro-am. It's a course rotation, and so sometimes historically, you've seen books maybe hesitate giving out lines, especially when there's multiple courses. But we've had multiple courses the last 2-3 weeks, and we've had first-round leader lines. So hopefully those come out. Part of the reason I've delayed my SportsLine article, by the way, is because those lines aren't out. I'll submit it this afternoon regardless with my picks. Maybe an extra pick. Certainly my first-round leaders, which weren't on the early wedge because they're not out. But expect that article to break on SportsLine this afternoon. Of course, Mike McClure has a ton of stuff. You know, EC and Patrick McDonald have a ton of stuff on SportsLine for every single golf tournament. All right, let's start. Mikey B, I want to start with you. By the way, everybody, thank you for being so active in the chat. Taylor, Snug the Cat, David Talk, Prop Stars is in the chat. Oh, wow. Bradley Jacobs. Everybody hit the like button. That means you, Prop Stars. I want you to hit it too. Mikey B, it's good that we have a basketball guy in here as well with you. We got Prop Stars. We got Mikey B. Let's take a look at the NBA slate, or at least some of these games here. We got the Kings and Heat. We got the Nuggets Thunder. We got the Mavericks, T-Wolves, Suns, Nets. I believe we have a SportsLine play on this show that may be from Proppy. But Mikey B, I want to start with you. You've got 2 props to talk to us about. You were 2-0 yesterday. Let's go 2-0 today.
All right, I'm going back to the Bulls game again. We're going to do someone on the opposition first. We're going to take Miles Bridges under 39.5 points, rebounds, and assists at -123. LaMelo Ball is expected to miss his 3rd straight game for the Hornets. The last 2 games that he's missed, Bridges had exactly 36 combined points, rebounds, and assists in both of them. Bridges is playing a lot. He's averaged 38 minutes over the last 20 games. However, he finished with fewer than 40 combined points, rebounds, and assists in 19 of those 20 games. I had to do my math many times here. This line seems weird. I'm going to take the under. The Bulls play at the slowest pace in the league, so I don't think we get at least 40 rebounds, points, and assists from Miles Bridges. And then we're going to go to the Bulls. We're going to take my guy, Ayo Dosunmu, over 13.5 points at -115. For this game, Zach LaVine, Patrick Williams, Torrey Craig, and Dalen Terry are all expected to be out. The Bulls are running out of healthy bodies. Dosunmu has averaged 15.5 points over 30 minutes over the last 8 games. Yesterday against the Raptors, he had 21 points. He played 39 minutes. I think he's going to push to play at least 40 minutes again. The Hornets have the worst defensive rating in the league, so we're going to close it out with Ayo Dosunmu over 13.5 points.
Absolutely love it. And by the way, Moshe in the chat, he says, thanks for saving my night at PropStars. And he probably needed a save because I lost my college basketball pick. I just want to throw that out there. Tyler Kolek, who I was going against, guard for Marquette, he's really good. Not usually this good. Can I just say, this dude, and we'll get to college basketball picks in a second, but I got a SportsLine play to give out first. This dude, Tyler Kolek, had 32 points, was 5 for 8 from three-point land, 9 assists, 6 rebounds, 3 steals. I mean, you're just not going to win a game when you have a guy that red hot. So good comeback by Villanova, but too much Tyler Kolek. All right. PropStars is in the chat, and he's also got the site play here for us. So Mikey B just gave us the 2 picks, including doubles, of course, Saturday Night Live reference there. Old school, everybody. Let's go. Speaking of old school, this guy's been in the league a while. This is Proppy's pick on SportsLine, or at least one of his picks. Harrison Barnes, under 14.5 points. The Kings are at the Miami Heat. The Heat kind of struggling, but we know they're a good defensive team. Harrison Barnes under 14.5 points at -111. If you have any questions or if you see a different line or a different price, Proppy's in the chat. Go ahead and ask him any question that you desire. Speaking of what you desire, you can make these bets at BetMGM, right? New BetMGM customers can sign up today and get $158 in bonus bets. Just place your first wager of at least $5 and you will receive $158 instantly in bonus bets, regardless of your wager's outcome, with bonus code EDGE158. That's EDGE158. All right. I lamented my plight, Moshe's plight, and anybody who bet my college basketball play yesterday, because Tyler Kolek went off and he killed the Villanova Wildcats. Well, I'm trying to come back with another college basketball play today. But before I tell you what it is, let's hear a break from one of our partners.
A doubleheader in the dark. It's a 2 test of strategy, skill, and speed. Twists and turns, ready for some wheel-to-wheel action.
Interesting comment from Taylor DeHart. Mikey B, before I give my pick out, Taylor DeHart says Heat need a win really badly, kind of like them on the money line. I believe we can put the graphic back up if you want to, but I think they were 1.5 point favorites, maybe 1 or 2 point favorites. I kind of like the Heat too. Let's see here. We've got the Heat. Oh, they're 2.5. Excuse me. I'm looking at the wrong thing. Yeah, they are 1.5 point favorites, actually. Okay, I thought they were dogs here. Either way, money line -120. That's certainly not a prohibitive price. What are your thoughts on the Heat? Because obviously they're struggling. We know Rozier's on this team. We know when it gets close to playoff time, Spoelstra has these guys totally in gear, but they're struggling enough where maybe they need to kick it in gear a little early. Any thoughts on the Heat at home against the Sacramento Kings?
Yeah, I would lean towards the Heat. I would just take the money line. I wouldn't mess around with the spread when the number's that small, simply because they are at home. The Kings have been a very inconsistent team. The Heat are the healthiest they've been in a while. The only guy of note that's going to be out tonight is Duncan Robinson. They do love his three-point shooting, but they have Rozier. Rozier had 21 points through 3 quarters the other day. He sat out the fourth because they were getting blown out against the Suns. I would lean towards the Heat, but that's a game I'm probably going to stay away from just because of how much the Heat are struggling and how inconsistent the Kings have been, especially on the road.
Fair enough. And Mike McClure, I'm not asking you to give us an official pick here. Any lean one way or the other on this Kings Heat game?
Just slight lean to the Kings side. The Heat, they're definitely more talented than they're playing right now. They just have not gotten things figured out, and they've really taken a hit defensively for whatever reason. So I personally would stay away from it completely, but if I had to, it would be just a slight lean with the points with the Kings, especially if it gets up to 2 or 2.5.
All right. Well, let's transition. By the way, Propstar is still in the chat dropping all kinds of knowledge. So ask him anything you like. Let's take a quick look at the college basketball slate, or some of the games on the college basketball slate. Florida, Kentucky. I think this is, listen, 171.5 point total here. This one's going to be a shootout. Providence, UConn. Let's see if UConn can have another blowout win. Boise State, New Mexico should be interesting. That's at 10:30 tonight. So if you're up late, maybe this is a game to focus on, whether it be a live bet or something pre-flop. But something I'm going to take pre-flop, we had it on the screen there. I'm taking Kentucky -5.5 here. It's up to 6 in some spots, 5.5 in others. I just think this Kentucky team's a lot better than Florida. Long story short here. When I look at Florida's wins, they rattled off a few in a row against, middling SEC teams, kind of bad SEC teams. When I see them on the road against good teams, like they played Tennessee, they got completely blown out. Now, Tennessee probably a little bit better than Kentucky right now, at least arguably, but Kentucky's a really good team. And the one thing about this, I don't normally like laying like 5.5 points in what I think could be a competitive game. But one thing to consider here is we saw it on the graphics, right? We saw the total was 171.5. When the total is that high, I'm a little bit less shy to lay like a 4.5, 5.5, even 6.5, because I do think Kentucky is going to score a ton of points. And this is the type of game. Florida has some guys, don't get me wrong. They got some guys that can rebound, that can like really battle on the boards. But I do think the talent gap is there for Kentucky to run away with this thing at some point in the game. I expect a 7 to 10 point win here, which is why I'm laying the points. Kentucky -5.5 at home against the Florida Gators. All right. And by the way, I think I mentioned it. I played this thing up to 6 because it is 6 in some places. We have a college basketball sports line play as well. We had Proppies Harrison Barnes play. Let's go to Wake Forest. Wake Forest +1.5 at Pittsburgh -110. Again, that's another SportsLine site play. If you want to be a member of SportsLine, if for some reason you're not already a member of SportsLine, all you got to do is go to sportsline.com/join. You type in winners, you get 60% off the annual plan, literally 60% off the annual plan. All you got to do is type in winners. Speaking of winners, we got to transition to none other than Martin Green. He's got a couple of soccer picks for us. Now, let's take a look real quick at the EPL slate. These are the games in the EPL. We got Man City. Oh, I'm probably going to screw one of these up. Burnley. We got Liverpool, Chelsea, and Tottenham, Brentford. I think I said all of those names right. Those seemed pretty easy to pronounce. When Buckets is on the show, the screen's littered with all kinds of names that I can't pronounce. But Martin Green, you did me a solid here. We're going to EPL. What are your 2 plays?
Magnificent pronunciation, Sia. Well, I don't like anything in that Man City game at -1000. There's no value there. And Liverpool-Chelsea looks very difficult to call, what with Jurgen Klopp just announcing that he's leaving Liverpool. So I'm training my focus on the Tottenham versus Brentford game. Tottenham have won 7 out of 10 home games so far this season, which is a pretty strong home record. They're currently missing a few key players. A couple of them are at the Africa Cup of Nations, and Son Heung-min is in Asia for the Asia Cup. But I still think they should be too strong for Brentford today. The Bees recently welcomed back their star striker Ivan Toney from a long-term suspension. They do have an excellent home head-to-head record, against Tottenham as well. So it's not going to be an easy game for Spurs, but Brentford's away form is really poor. They've lost 6 out of 9 games on the road so far this season. Tottenham seem to be finding their feet again. They've got a lot of energetic forwards. So I think Tottenham should win. Just to get a bit more value, I'm going for Tottenham money line and over 1.5 goals combined at odds of -125. Just while I'm on the show, thought I'd give out a weekend pick as well. It's a big game between local rivals Brighton and Crystal Palace. Both teams to score has paid off in 6 of the last 7 meetings between these fierce local rivals. Their clashes are normally entertaining. Palace are coming off a great 3-2 win against Sheffield United last night, but really strong going forwards. Whereas Brighton suffered a shock 4-0 defeat to Luton, really uncharacteristic of them. I think they should bounce back against Palace. They're going to be really fired up for this game. Hard to see the team keeping a clean sheet, so go for both teams to score at -125.
Absolutely love it. Love the numbers here too on those particular picks. By the way, Maestro is in the chat as well. We got listen. I like this is. I don't know that I like this. We have a more all-star cast in the chat than we have on the show. I'm not a big fan of that. You guys are overshadowing us, and I don't really appreciate it right now. What I do appreciate is we got golf every single week, which is why we have the early wedge every single week, every Tuesday night at 7:00. We've got Mike McClure simulations on SportsLine every single week. And when Mike's on this show, which is usually a few times a week, and of course on Wednesday, he usually comes to us with a tournament pick. So we talked about it. We've got this very tournament on CBS, on Paramount Plus, and on CBS on Saturday and Sunday at 3:00. Let's get into a tournament pick from Mike McClure. You have the floor, sir.
All right, Sia, it's time for one of the model darlings. That would be Justin Thomas. We love Justin Thomas again to this week here. I like him in a head-to-head matchup, -110 against Aberg. I think this is a great individual matchup for him. I actually price it closer to -140. When you look at Justin Thomas's skill set overall, he had a bad year last year, but he's going to be awesome in terms of approach play and really around the greens. Those are two areas that really have a ton of importance at this event. So one thing this event does, it's got a couple things, but when you look at like guys that are longer off the tee, doesn't really matter. It's mostly neutralized here. It's a very short course overall. That has been one of the advantages for Aberg, is just his overall length. When you kind of neutralize his greatest skill set, I think he becomes a more average golfer in this field. So what is important, like I said here, is going to be the approach play and around the greens. That is where Justin Thomas has really separated himself throughout his career. But so far this season, that's where he's returning to form. I think he's going to have a really, really, really big week. I think he's live to win the entire tournament. But I think this matchup is one that is drastically mispriced here. Another note, the smallest putting greens on the PGA Tour. POA greens, not something that we see super often. I think this is a great setup for Justin Thomas. Love him in this matchup. It is a full tournament matchup. But I would be looking to play it in round one if you can find it in round one. And yeah, bet Justin Thomas every way you can this week.
Yeah, I like this quite a bit. If you watch the early wedge, you know I love this, right? Because, Mike, you might not know this, but I have 4 outrights. 2 of them are in the long shot, like 90-1. My 2, I would say almost like true outrights. Tony Finau, only because the number dropped to 40-1, and that was long enough for me to speculate on Tony Finau. The other one, Justin Thomas at 25-1. It's 22-1 in some markets, 25-1 in some markets. I like it either way. And, Mike, he's trending. I mean, the approach play, the short game, it all fits this course. And you're right, Ludwig Aberg or Aubert, however we pronounce that, you're taking a big weapon away from him off the tee because, people are, it's a positional course. People are kind of laying up in the fairway off the tee. So I absolutely love that bet. Love Justin Thomas in general. And I'm going to listen, I gave out some matchups yesterday. Not all the matchups were out on every site. I gave out 2 matchups yesterday. I may add a third to my article. I say that because BetMGM came out with their matchups. And I got to say, they have more matchups than any other site I've seen. If you go to BetMGM right now and you look at the tournament matchups, they have about twice as many as all of the other major sports books, which is pretty cool. So it's something to keep in mind for the future. But what I will say is this matchup I'm about to give out is at BetMGM. It's also at DraftKings and a number of other places. Sam Burns -120 over Cam Young. Again, if you watch the early wedge, you heard my explanation on this, but I'll make it short and sweet. Cam Young has been very good. He has not been very good for quite some time, and Sam Burns' play is starting to pick up. We know he can dial in on approach and with the putter specifically. And Cam Young, he's really just been all over the place. I'm not expecting a great tournament from him. I would fade him in a number of matchups. I think we've seen matchups this week with Sung J M, I think, paired up against Cam Young. I like that as well, but I'll take Sam Burns -120. In some markets, he's even -110. So keep that in mind. And Taylor Dart, you have a question. Doesn't MGM include ties on their matchups? Yes and no. They actually have an option for ties, and they have an option on that same ticket. You'll see the option for tie. And if you look to the right, you'll see the option without the tie. And without the tie, you're probably going to see Sam Burns -120 over Cam Young. So you got to kind of pay attention to what you're betting. If you see the tie part, move over to the part that doesn't have the tie involved. So keep that in mind. Propstar says, man, Sia crushes golf. We've been having a very, very good year in golf. This whole team has been having a very good year, especially since the NFL playoffs. Our record has been, and Maestro has been chronicling that for us. It's been very good. Even with some bad days sprinkled in, We had a couple bad days last week, and they were offset by 2 really great days. Our weekends have been good with the NFL. Let's hope this Wednesday is good. Let's take a look at the recap screen real quick here. Martin Green, Tottenham money line and over 1.5 at -125. Brighton, Crystal Palace, both teams to score -125. I've got Kentucky -5.5, and I've got Sam Burns as a tournament play over Cam Young. Again, check out the early wedge. It's in your feed right now for all the picks from me, Eric Cohen, and Patrick McDonald. Mike Barner, Miles Bridges, under 39.5 points, rebounds, and assists at -123. Jasunmu, I think I pronounced that right, over 13.5 points, -115. Mike McClure, Justin Thomas over Ludwig Aberg. I certainly endorse that, -110. SportsLine site picks. We got one from Proppy, who is still in the chat, under 14.5 points. And then in college basketball site play, Wake Forest +1.5. Ladies and gentlemen, we just went 23 minutes and we rattled off as many picks as we possibly could with high confidence. I see a lot of people like my Kentucky pick in the chat. Let's hope we bring that one home. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Martin Green, Mike McClure, Mikey B, trying to go 2-0 again, and Jake the Snake on the 1s and 2s, this is the early edge. I am the counselor, and we rest our case.